We will electrify it. It then is electrified again between Huddersfield and Leeds. That's only possible because of the money that we have put in. So when people say, how can we believe that you're going to make this transport investment, I say, start to judge us on our record, because already we are delivering for the north of England with better transport infrastructure. And by breaking down Northern Powerhouse Rail into 3 phases, this is not something that will be in 20 years' time. This is something that we'll see in the early 2030s. But it's not the only investment. Whether it is mass transit in West Yorkshire, new tram stops and new metro stops in the northeast, or in Greater Manchester, we are already delivering on the commitments we've made. And as I just said in my answer to Rob, you know, if you are going to get fixated on whether it is one particular form of digital ID to verify you can work, oh, that's fine. I care about the practicalities and what we're trying to achieve. And what we're trying to achieve is to stop illegal immigration into the UK. And at the moment, you don't have to verify electronically, digitally, that you have a right to work in this country. Ergo, we have a lot of people working illegally in this country. We're cracking down on that in a way the previous government didn't do, and we remain committed to that. We've got a plan to grow the economy. We were the 2nd fastest growing economy in the G7 last year, according to the IMF. We've had 6 cuts in interest rates. Inflation is on the way down. People are getting £150 off of their energy bills from April, as well as rail fares and prescription charges being frozen. We've got a plan. We're sticking to it, and we're delivering for working people. Claire from Channel 4 News.
Hiya. Claire Fallon. I cover the North for Channel 4 News.
Even better.
You talked about learning the lessons from HS2, and it just occurred that isn't the lesson the North learned from HS2 that actually the money might run out, they might not get to you before it all gets cut? And with that in mind, with the sequencing that you've set out, with doing Yorkshire first and then doing Manchester to Liverpool, can that be perceived as kind of being a carrot-shaped incentive to keep Andy Burnham in line?
We've worked on this plan with everybody, and what is happening right now is the electrification of the Manchester to Leeds line, the Transpennine route upgrade. We can deliver that quicker than we can build a new railway line, and it delivers tangible benefits for people in Manchester, in Rochdale, in Staley Bridge, and right across Greater Manchester. And it also delivers for people in West Yorkshire, because, do you know what? I love the mayors, but the people I really want to deliver for are the people in those areas who rely on this public transport to get them to work and college and all the rest of it. But we've worked on these plans with the mayors. We've got all 6 of our Labour Northern mayors here today, and we're jointly committed to this project. I'll take a question. Is it Tom from the Mirror?
Alex from the Mirror.
Alex.
You talked about how important this is for the North, but a lot of it isn't going to materialise until the 2030s and beyond. Are you worried that the time all this takes to build risks leaving a generation behind right now?
Well, I wish we could have got started on this 14 years ago. Believe you me, Alex. I've been an MP for almost 16 years. A lot of those were wasted in opposition whilst, you know, frankly, the Labour Party had a fight with itself rather than trying to govern the country. We're in power now. We've only been in power for 18 months, but we're already delivering on our plan. We are upgrading the Transpennine route. We've got that money flowing into city regional transport. We're taking money off of people's energy bills. So mirror readers from April will be getting £150 off their bills. The rail fares on the railways that we do have will be frozen this year, the first time that's happened in 30 years. And we've frozen prescription charges for the 2nd year in a row. So we are delivering now for people, but I'm not going to apologise for making the right long-term decisions as well. But I want the long-term to be as quick as possible, which is why we are phasing Northern Powerhouse Rail. We're not going to wait for the whole thing to be built between Liverpool and York to get the benefits anywhere on that journey. And that's why we are confident, the mayors are confident, Peter is confident, that in the early 2030s people will see the benefits. And the young people that I met today who are on their, doing their apprenticeships here know now that they are going to have work for decades to come. And that is really important, because one of the problems with rail investment, it has been stop-start. and contractors haven't known whether to train up their people, and people haven't known whether to go into the industry. Well, the message I'm saying to the young people today is you can plan a future. You know, you can buy a home, you can get married and have kids, knowing that there's going to be work for you with your skills for years to come, and work right here where you live, where your home is in the north of England. Take a question from Ryan from The Sun.
Thank you, Chancellor. On business rates, you say that you want to help the high street, but shops, restaurants, pharmacies are asking for help on those business rates. Will you come up with a rescue package beyond pubs, or are you willing to sacrifice them, sacrifice hospitality, and slowly kill off the high street?
Well, it's a pleasure to see you as ever, Ryan. He's much nicer in real life. Ryan, during the pandemic, quite rightly, a lot of temporary support was given to the hospitality sector, particularly to pubs, because they were closed. That's not the same for the whole economy, and not the same for the whole high streets. Many shops were able to stay open during the pandemic, and so their valuations stayed pretty steady. But the valuations of pubs collapsed, and as a result, their business rates payable fell. In our business rates review, we have permanently reduced the business rate tax for our high streets and for smaller businesses. But as that temporary relief comes to an end, although we are putting £4.3 billion of temporary support in, and as those valuations have risen, the tax paid on business rates for some pubs is going up. And that's why I've said, working with the industry, that we are working on additional support for those businesses. But if you are putting in support, you've got to find the money somewhere else. We already put up taxes significantly in the two budgets to steady our public finances, which has enabled interest rates to come down 6 times. So we're working with the hospitality sector. I've been very clear that there is a package to come on top of what we've already done for pubs, and we'll be announcing that in the days ahead. Yep.
Tim Wallace of the Daily Telegraph. Chancellor, you said you want to help pubs. You also said you want to help with the cost of living. Are you reconsidering next month's increase in alcohol duty? It's going up 3.66%, which is an extra squeeze on the sector.
No, I set out the budget on November the 26th, including uprating by inflation those duties. So they are going up as planned, but only in line with inflation. The key cost of living offer that we made in the budget was £150 off of the average energy bill, freezing rail fares for the first time in 30 years, and freezing prescription charges for the second year in a row. As a whole, the Office of Budget Responsibility say that that will take around 0.4, 0.5 percentage points off of inflation, and that should give confidence to the Bank of England in terms of cutting interest rates. We've already had 6 cuts in interest rates since I became Chancellor in July 2024, taking hundreds, in some cases thousands of pounds off people's mortgages after the disaster that was done to people's mortgage rates and their living standards under Liz Truss and the Tories. I mean, I think they're still in the Tories. Who knows? Who's got the next question? Yeah.
Thanks, Chancellor. It's Josh Halliday from The Guardian. You've spoke about the understandable cynicism that people have. One way to answer that might be to give detail on the money behind it.
Yeah.
You've mentioned 1.1 billion in this spending review. Can you say how much will be allocated to this in the next spending review, or give a rough idea? And secondly, if I can, 4 years ago, Labour described the Tories' NPR as an absolute betrayal and called it the Great Train Robbery. That version looks very similar to this. Is this just a massively watered-down version of what the mayors actually wanted?
Well, look, the mayors can speak for themselves, but this project has the backing of all the mayors, and the big difference between Tory promises and what I'm setting out today is that this is got money behind it. £45 billion envelope for this investment. It is important that we set an envelope and set a cap, because all the lessons, and Peter will know this better than most, all the lessons from HS2 is a failure to have a plan when it was announced with a route, the failure to have an envelope or a cap, but also the failure to phase it, but just to think of it as one project, are the things that led to these huge cost overruns. And also, it's not just the money we're announcing. The Planning and Infrastructure Act means it will be quicker and easier to get the planning permission and get this over the line. And this is not just about rail. This is also about new housing. I was with Andy and Steve in Stockport before the last general election, seeing the amazing investment into housing and business there, connecting Manchester city centre and Stockport, I think 8 minutes on the train, so using the transport infrastructure to connect people with jobs, with more affordable housing. I want to see that in more parts of the country, which is why we are fast-tracking housing development around stations, because the infrastructure is already there. So investment by the government and with mayors in transport to unlock tens of billions of pounds more of growth in our northern towns and cities. And together with Tom Reardon, who we've appointed as our Northern Growth Envoy, we'll be publishing more details of our Northern Growth Strategy in the spring. Oh, so we've said £45 billion in total. This next spending review is going to be in 2027. We'll set out the details then. But as you know, because of my first budget, we do have £120 billion more over this Parliament, including the period of the next spending review, to invest compared with the plans that I've inherited. And of course, some of that money will go to this. I think I'm only going to be able to take one more question. Yeah, Jen.
Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to, a bit further on what you were just saying then about the next spending review. So you've only announced £1 billion towards this in this Parliament, but you're saying that...
No, not in this Parliament, in this spending review, but this spending review is up until 27.
So in this Parliament then,
yeah.
Are you saying that a significant proportion of that 45 could actually be released and start to be spent?
Yes, so the first spending review only takes us to 2027. So the £1 billion is being released to do the preparatory work and some of the land purchases. But the next spending review will allocate more money, including for the final 2 years of this Parliament. So you don't need to, be worried that it's £1 billion in this Parliament. That is not the case. We've got a spending review. It's important that we're making these announcements now so that ahead of the spending review, we can work out what is needed in this Parliament and then what is needed in the years ahead.
Hello? But do you have any sense of how much of that 45 could then get released in this Parliament? That's what I'm saying.
Well,
I realise you haven't done a spending review yet, but
yeah.
It doesn't sound a lot at this moment because it's 1.1 billion.
Yeah, but it's not 1.1 billion.
No, I know.
It's 1.1 billion.
I understand that, but are you expecting it to be a significant amount of money that you release in the next spending review for this?
Right. Well, if we're going to, as I've just committed to, feel the benefits in the early 2030s, there better be some money committed at the spending review. I'm the Chancellor. I'm telling you, there will be.
Can I just ask, as a follow-up, how easy was it negotiating with the mayors? Thank you.
What do we call them? A magnificence. A munificence of mayors is the new, what's it called? A collective noun for mayors, and they are magnificent. But look, we could have said, which is what previous government did, oh, here's a plan. Yeah, that is what happened, isn't it, Peter? You were around for some of that. But that was not our approach. We've worked together on this, and that is the right approach because, look, I'm an MP up here. I've got a bit of idea about what people in Leeds want, but I'm not as connected as Tracy and Andy and Steve and Kim and Oliver and David are. Of course I'm not. That is why it's so important. And also beyond that, we've got all of our local council leaders here as well today who've been absolutely crucial in making this plan better. Central government does not have a monopoly on good ideas. Some of them come from elsewhere, and a lot of them have come from our brilliant mayors and our local leaders. And we're going to continue in that vein. This is a cross-government piece of work. We've got Steve and Peter here today. Heidi's been in the House this afternoon making that announcement. We're going to work together to make this happen because that is the best way that not just going to get the costs down, but get the value. And that is something that I think sometimes is forgotten, the difference between cost and value. Of course we want to keep costs down, but I want to get the value out of this, and that means choosing the right route and the right way of doing this. But they can all speak for themselves, and I'm sure they will. I think we've got your backing, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go, Jen. Thank you very much. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for, but I'm sure we'll discuss this on many other occasions. Thank you.